Early the next morning, there is a chance to admire the engine. But with the helicopters due in just 6 hours, Pat has to make a tough decision about the rest of the plane.
We've got the engine, and we've decided not to bring the fuselage up at this time. The bottom line is we'd be rushing it, and I'm not prepared to jeopardize this aircraft for the sake of getting it up in a short order of time.
After so much effort, it's hard to leave the plane behind. But only the engine will be leaving on this airlift back to Winnipeg.
This is incredible. This is awesome. There he is, he's on. Up and away. "75 years, it's back in the air."
In London, the team attempting to return all 20 cars to a subway line are right on track. But as fatigue sets in, they make an inevitable mistake. Someone misreads the 5-digit number on the side of a train.
Oh, for God's sake. You've lowered the wrong one. He says it's the wrong carriage. They've got to take that one out. This one's got to go first.
Just operational issues down in the tunnel.
Someone's getting tired upstairs, hadn't spotted it, and then one of us has just looked here and said, it's the wrong one.
Mixing up the numbers, the team have inserted a driver car instead of an ordinary car. They are left with only 3/4 of a train. If the depot had more space, they could shunt the cars around and deposit the rogue car on the adjacent track. Once the correct car is lowered in, they could then join the other cars to form a complete train. But this is the penultimate car, and the depot is so full, there is no room to maneuver the cars around. With the deadline looming, their only option is to lift the wrong train back out and insert the correct car.
Just blame me, everybody else does. Blame me for everything. I painted the numbers wrong on the train, I backed it in the wrong way round. Blame me, everyone blame me.
With their sense of humor intact, the crew go into overtime and overdrive to swap the rogue car with the right one.
"1:20 in the morning, every car's in. That's it. Everybody's now saying, had enough, we're going to go home."
I'm relieved. No damage, no accidents, no real problems.
All that remains to be done is to seal up the hole, and the Waterloo and City line is once more ready for passengers. To coin an English phrase, the job's a good 'un. Three months after leaving the ghost of Charon Lake, the volunteer salvage team are back. It's October, and they've managed to get some more time off work to make a final attempt to raise the plane before winter sets in. After the previous failure using ROVs, they've decided to dispense with the robots and rely solely on divers. Pat and Annette have persuaded them to risk the lake's dark waters once more. They are assembling an improvised rescue sling to place under the plane's crumbling carcass. Fearing that the rear part of the plane is too fragile to survive a conventional lift, the divers will descend to the wreck and cut the plane in half just behind the wing. After encasing the fragile tail section in a cradle made of snow fence, they will then winch this section to the surface, leaving the remaining fuselage to be lifted later. Once again, they don't have much time. The helicopter is only available for the airlift on one day, and the weather is looking distinctly unsettled. With their snow fence cradle at the ready, the divers drop straight down to the wrecked plane.
Okay, there comes the aircraft in sight now, and we are right on the tail section.
But working in Charon Lake, even the slightest disturbance of the lake bottom plunges the divers into a world of confusion. They can't even see their own hands, let alone the plane. They will have to slice and dice by touch. But despite these awkward conditions, the divers manage to encase the tail in the cradle.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
Pop up a bit. We want you to watch it. We're going to winch this.
Once the cradle is in place, they begin to winch the tail section away from the bottom.
Okay, I think it's free.
Is that thing secure in there, or do we have to do something?
I don't think we want to let this thing hang out here for the night.
The tail section has slipped out of the cradle, and their hopes of salvaging the Fokker are literally hanging by a thread.
This big piece hanging down below could absolutely break off and make its way back to the bottom pretty quick.
It's almost too much for Pat and Annette to bear. Perhaps a hastily improvised sling can save the day. With this extra support connected to the plane's tail, the team now feel confident to tow it to shallow water, ready for the final lift just before the helicopter arrives. A quick dive under to check the tail's condition, and Annette's reaction signals that everything is A-OK. They want to press on, but with the sun setting, they have no choice but to wait until the next day. Next morning, they have a rude awakening. Winter has arrived suddenly. The wind is whipping up 3-foot waves across the lake, and the outlook is not encouraging.
It's going to drop to about -4 degrees tonight. So that little skiff of frost you had this morning will be nothing compared to what you have tomorrow. We have to get everybody out because you cannot fly when the snow is coming and the winds are blowing. It's not safe to be here.
Facing evacuation, Pat and Annette take one last desperate look for any improvement in the weather. They're not in luck.
Oh, the barge is really bouncing around quite severely, and you wouldn't be able to even stand on it. Waves are crashing up over the bow of it, and all sides, actually. There's no way anybody could work on there. It's just too rough.
I mean, with that kind of rocking and rolling, we would jeopardize the integrity of the structure to bring it up. I'm so disappointed.
With their new plan clearly working, they have been beaten by the weather. Pat and Annette have to once more concede defeat in their battle to move this historic plane. But they will be back. They will never abandon the ghost of Charon Lake.